When do you say that a car offers good value for money? A lot of car reviews, including mine, tend to focus on tech features and performance, but there are those who don't care so much about these things. Some prefer not having so much tech in their vehicles, and some don't care about acceleration or handling at all. A lot of titos and titas just want something that can fit a lot of people, something that's comfortable, fuel efficient, practical, looks good, and of course, affordable. This is the Nissan Livina, and it may be all of those things. Maybe. Is it worth your money? Let's find out. It is no secret that this vehicle is based on the Mitsubishi Xpander. I mean, it's pretty obvious just by looking at it. The Livina is a byproduct of the Renault-Nissan-Mitsubishi alliance. Those brands have a cross-sharing agreement which allows them to share technologies and platforms. Underneath the skin, the Livina is the same as the Xpander. But Nissan did enough here to make it look different from the Xpander and to make it look more like a Nissan. Okay, so here at the front is where the Livina and the Xpander look the least alike. If the Xpander looks sharp and angular, the Livina looks more sleek and it has a more rounded look. Of course, since it's a Nissan, you get the V-Motion grille finished in chrome. You get the Nissan logo on the center. These over here are LED DRLs, and unfortunately the headlights over here are halogens. You also get halogen fog lamps down here. It gets 16-inch alloy wheels wrapped in 205/55 Bridgestone tires. You get disc brakes at the front and drum brakes at the back. From this angle, the Livina looks almost identical to the Xpander. It has similar dimensions. You get 205 millimeters of ground clearance, which is more than the ground clearance of the Avanza and the Veloz. You get power folding side mirrors finished in chrome. You also get chrome door openers. By the way, these have proximity sensors. Now, if you want to lock the car, you don't have to get the key out of your pocket. You can just press this button over here. And if you want to lock it, press the same button. From this angle, the Livina looks identical to the Xpander. The taillights are the same shape, but if you look closely, you'll see that the Livina has this V-shaped pattern right here, which you'll also see on other modern Nissans like the Kicks. You also get this faux splitter down here, painted in silver. Now, like the Xpander, the Livina also has a manual liftgate. Space behind the third row is very usable. As you can see, I can fit one medium-sized luggage bag with plenty of room to spare. If you fold all the seats, you get about the same space as the Xpander, which is a good thing since the Xpander is one of the more spacious MPVs in the segment. The Livina gets the exact same engine as the Xpander. This is a 1.5-liter naturally aspirated gasoline engine, which puts out 103 horsepower and 141 Newton meters of torque. It's coupled to the same 4-speed automatic transmission. The interior of the Livina looks almost identical to the pre-facelift Xpander. But you do get a couple of touches here which make it look a bit more premium. For example, you get these faux glossy wood accents over here and also on the door cards. You do get plenty of faux materials here. Like if you look at the dashboard, it looks like it's covered in leather. You get these leather stitches over here. But if you touch it, it's actually made of hard plastic. All of this is made of hard plastic. Even the door sidings. The stitching is molded into the plastic. Even the armrest over here is made of hard plastic. You do get a nice leather wrapped steering wheel though. You also get gloss black accents over here. On the steering wheel you have controls for your infotainment screen. This entire side though is blank because you don't get cruise control. You get manual single zone climate control, but thankfully you get knobs instead of buttons. I mean, rotating a knob is much faster than having to press buttons.
Down here you get one USB-A port, one 12-volt outlet, you got some storage over here, you get a manual handbrake, and down here you get two cup holders big enough to fit this venti sized Starbucks cup. Now, one of my main complaints about the Livina is that, like the previous Xpander, this doesn't come with a center armrest. Instead you get this cubby over here, which is quite spacious. It's quite deep, as you can see, but I would prefer to have an armrest over there rather than storage. The glove box is quite massive. You do get plenty of space in there. You got some storage here as well for some loose items. You got some bottle holders down here. The seats are covered in synthetic leather. They're both manually adjustable. Next to the lack of an armrest, the other thing that I'm not really a fan of here is this infotainment screen. It's pretty small and you don't get Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. But again, for those who are not into tech, for the Titos and Titas, that may not be an issue. You do get a reverse camera though. The resolution isn't the best out there, but it's gonna be good enough for most people. Here at the second row, legroom is adequate. The front seat is adjusted to my height. You have pockets behind the driver's seat. You don't have such pockets over here. You don't get USB ports. You don't get 12-volt outlets. You have a blower fan unit up here with 4 air vents. Your fan controls are up here. You do get a center armrest, however you don't get cup holders back here. Okay, the second row seats have a 60-40 split, and the 40% part tumbles forward for easier access to the third row. Okay, here at the back, space is quite decent. I have quite a bit of knee room. The front seat can be moved forward if you need more leg room. Also, you have plenty of room for your feet, even if you have big shoes. The flooring is not that high and it's quite flat, so my knees are at a comfortable angle. By the way, this may be the only time that you'll see my legs, so enjoy it now. You have one cup holder on this side, one 12-volt outlet, and you have another cup holder over here, but you don't get any 12-volt outlets over there. I think what's most surprising about the Livina is how quiet it is on the highway. Even at highway speeds, wind noise and tire noise are very minimal. Engine noise is also very minimal, which is surprising since this has a 4-speed transmission, and at 100 kph you're doing about 2,400 rpm, and you still don't hear the engine so much. Fuel economy is also pretty good. I'm getting 4.8 liters per 100 kilometers.
The Livina is a lot more refined than I thought it would be. Like I said, it's pretty quiet inside the cabin. Ride quality is good for a 7-seater MPV, especially compared to its competitors like the Avanza. The steering is light and it's relatively quick, so it's easy to zip in and out of traffic. So this is definitely one case where the numbers don't tell the entire story. Because looking at the spec sheet alone, you wouldn't expect this car to drive like this. The Nissan Livina sells between 1 to 1.2 million pesos. So the lower variants go up against other MPVs like the Avanza, and the top spec variant goes up against the Veloz. The Livina definitely feels more refined than the Avanza, without a doubt. The Livina gets better NVH, the ride quality is much better. I think the interior also looks much better. Now, I haven't driven the Veloz yet, but it's supposed to ride on the same suspension and has the same engine as the Avanza. The Veloz though gets more tech, like a wireless charger, Apple CarPlay, and Android Auto. The top spec Veloz also comes with a 360 camera, but the Livina is priced lower. The Livina is more spacious, it gets a lot more ground clearance, so mas pwedeng pangbaha or pangharabas ang Livina kaysa sa Veloz. So it's really a question of which one is the best match for your needs. If you just want a practical car and you don't care so much about toys and gizmos, the Livina would be perfectly adequate. Now, as for the question of how this compares to the Mitsubishi Xpander, the Xpander gets a bit more tech, like Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. But aside from that, they're practically the same vehicle, and it will mostly boil down to brand preference. I say if you have experience with one brand, or if you have a trusted dealership near your place, that's a better deciding factor than the spec sheet, as they're very similar vehicles. I was expecting this review to be a lot more negative than it turned out to be, as I had pretty low expectations for the Livina. But the good thing about having low expectations is that you're less likely to be disappointed and more likely to be impressed. What surprised me about the Livina was that it's actually not a bad car to drive. Its 4-speed transmission may seem archaic on paper, but it feels more responsive than the CVTs of its competitors. And while you would expect such a transmission to return low fuel economy numbers, it is actually very fuel efficient. And it's a lot more quiet and refined than I thought it would be. While it lags behind some of the competition in terms of tech, those who don't care so much about tech, those who just want something that can fit their entire family, something that's comfortable, fuel efficient, practical, looks good, and affordable, will appreciate the Nissan Livina.